All right, let's do this week's the almost internet famous weekly TechSpective happy hour. Admittedly, I did not do this on Friday because it was Black Friday and it was the day after Thanksgiving, and my son was back in town from college, and I just had other things to do. Family takes precedence over the almost internet famous weekly TechSpective happy hour. So I am recording this over the weekend. It's going to be kind of short and sweet because it was a short and sweet holiday week. As you can see, I've got my holiday garb on. I've redecorated some in the office. Got some holiday decorations up. If you went out and if you go out and look at my Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you'll see that we've got. I believe it's 7. We have 7 trees up. 6 of them are decorated, and we just bought a new tree last night, which is not yet decorated or up. So all in all, there will be 8 trees throughout the house. So we are in full-on holiday festivity mode here. So let's start off with the beverage of the week. I picked up some of these for Thanksgiving, so I've already had a couple of them. But this is the Real Ale Brewing Company coffee porter. So it is quite tasty, really. It's not too carbonated. It's not bitter. It's got a nice dark color, a little bit of foam. That's good stuff. I mean, this is this is one I could actually buy by the 6-pack and keep around the house. A lot of the other stuff that we've, that I've tried out on this podcast and tried out in general, I go into the store and I get the make your own 6-pack. So I just kind of get one of each, and I try it out, and I like to sample a lot of different things, and that's basically the way I buy and drink beer. So very rarely do I actually buy a 6-pack, but I did buy a 6-pack of this for Thanksgiving. Because my brother was coming over, and I thought it would be nice to have some beverages in the house. That's a really good one. I would definitely recommend checking that one out. So let's talk a little bit about the week in tech, short as it may have been. We started off the week with a guest post from Rob Enderle. He actually writes a post for TechSpective every week, and the post that he wrote this week I thought was interesting because it was about Mark Cuban of Dallas Mavericks and Shark Tank fame playing a video game, playing League of Legends against Brian Krzanich of Intel. And the game, I think, was I'm pretty sure it was for charity. But the point of the post was about the future of video gaming as a professional sport, more or less. Like, there are announcers who are calling the match in real time, and there's color commentary, and those kind of things. And the basically what Rob talked about was the potential for that to be a thing, for that to catch on as a mainstream. Just like we sit down to watch. I'm going to sit down and watch football this weekend. Would people sit down and watch video games? And in other countries, that it is a thing. I mean, StarCraft is a major professional thing in South Korea, but here in the United States, not as much of a thing. And the point that Rob made that I think is valid is having some kind of a connection or a backstory to the players. Being able to relate to them on some level. Like right now, if it's just their gamer tag or their online gaming handle, and you don't really know who the person is, and you have no connection, and there isn't a hometown hero or a home team per se, Those are kind of some of the things that are missing for it to catch on as a mainstream spectator sport. But there's also, I think, Rob summed up with what I think is the most important point, and that is, if we got there, instead of there's a lot of concern about the impact of head trauma in football and the injuries and just the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just the trauma that professional athletes subject their bodies to, particularly in football. But if we all watched people playing Madden football, you have almost the same experience from a viewing perspective. In fact, many times when I'm playing Madden football, my kids can't tell the difference. They walk in and they have to do like a triple take to be like, well, wait a minute, are you playing football or are you watching football? And that's basically how good the graphics are and how good the play mechanics are. So I could see getting there, and then if we did, it would level the playing field. It wouldn't matter what gender you are. It wouldn't matter if you were 6'4", 325 pounds, or if you're just an average sized person, because it comes down to skill with the controller, not size and power. So I think there's some potential there, and I mean that's just on the sporting games, but there's all kinds of games you could have as a spectator sport if you figure out how to connect the audience, get the audience engaged, get the audience to have a favorite player or a favorite team, and want to follow along and want to support that player or that team. So that's I think what's missing there, to get it from just being a niche kind of gaming nerd thing to a mainstream, everybody's watching it thing. So that was one story of the week. Another story, a post that I put up was about, it was kind of a follow-up on the ongoing debate about encryption and privacy, and do we trade our do we give up our privacy to some extent or to all extent in the name of security? If you knew for a fact that allowing the federal government to monitor all communications and to have a backdoor into encryption algorithms so that it wouldn't matter, how you encrypt your data, what communication tool you use, what email you use, whatever, the government would be able to access that, decrypt it, view it. If you knew for a fact that that would prevent all terrorist attacks, would that be an acceptable trade-off? Would that be something you'd be willing to do? So, and that's a legitimate question. So feel free to comment here. Feel free to comment on the post on TechSpective. It's a legitimate question to say, would you be willing to allow law enforcement and government intelligence agencies to view all data and all communications if it was guaranteed that it would prevent terrorist attacks? Now, the flip side of that is it wouldn't guarantee it. So then the more realistic question becomes, are you willing to sacrifice your privacy and allow government intelligence agencies and law enforcement to view and access your data without the guarantee that it will prevent all terrorist attacks, just with an assumption or a presumption that it will prevent some or most, that having access to that data might ostensibly prevent a terrorist attack? So to scale that question way back and say, if you knew that allowing government intelligence agencies and law enforcement to view your communications and access your data absolutely would not prevent all terrorist attacks, but that it might prevent one, and it might save 10 lives. It might save 100 lives. It might save 1,000 lives. What is the acceptable balance? What is the trade-off where you're willing to basically accept some sort of like 24/7 surveillance state for the promise of improved but not perfect security? And that is it's a difficult question, because it's hard to just say no. I value my privacy. I value the Constitution and the Fourth Amendment, and you can't access my data or intercept my communications without probable cause, without getting a warrant. You can't just monitor everybody. But knowing that stance possibly could result in people dying. But to kind of reel that back in some, the whole debate starts from a false premise. The whole debate starts from the idea that it was law enforcement and intelligence agencies who want this encryption backdoor basically used the Paris attack as the catalyst and said, well, this wouldn't have happened if we had this encryption backdoor. This wouldn't have happened if the terrorists weren't using encryption, and if Edward Snowden hadn't given away all of our secrets for how we're monitoring them. And all of that's crap, basically, because there's no indication that encryption played a role. There's no indication that Edward Snowden revealing that we're monitoring communications in any way led terrorists or criminals to alter their strategies and do something different. I think it's naive to think that they weren't already encrypting their data and looking for stealth channels to communicate in. They know they're doing illegal stuff. They know that people are watching. They know that they don't want their plans and strategies to be intercepted by law enforcement and government agencies. So it's not like they were just all communicating in clear text. And then Edward Snowden came along and they changed their strategy. It's also, I think, very relevant to point out that if we as Americans accepted this trade-off, and if law enforcement and government intelligence agencies got this backdoor into encryption, and we mandated something and said, okay, well, every email, web browser, data protection product, everything that has an encryption algorithm has to have a backdoor that law enforcement and the U.S. government can use to access that information. There'd be two problems with that. Number one would be, it would be a matter of time, and I'm going to guess it would be a matter of days, if not hours, before that backdoor was hacked. So we as the people say, okay, government intelligence agencies, we're going to grant you this backdoor. We're going to let you have this access to our data. The Pentagon's been hacked, intelligence agencies have been hacked, government agencies have been hacked, law enforcement has been hacked. It seems to me it would take almost no time for the bad guys that we're trying to spy on to actually get the keys to the back door, in which case all of our information would just be accessible to all of the bad guys, and it would defeat the entire purpose. The other problem is such a mandate would only apply to companies under U.S. jurisdiction or citizens of the United States, and there'd be nothing stopping terrorist organizations from just using tools that don't comply with that law. I mean, it's a funny thing about terrorists and criminals. They don't really care if you make up new rules and invent new laws to, say that what they're doing is bad. They already know that what they're doing is bad. And it's not like you create a new law and they go, oh, well, we didn't know you didn't want us to do that. I guess we'll stop. They'll just not use those encryption tools. There's nothing stopping the bad guys. There's nothing stopping a terrorist organization from creating its own instant messaging tool or email system or web browser with its own encryption algorithm that doesn't include the back door. So I think it's a little silly to think that if we had this encryption backdoor for government intelligence agencies and law enforcement, that it would yield any better results than whatever they can find now, because the bad guys just wouldn't use that tool or those tools. They wouldn't, they're smart enough to go around the back door. So there's kind of two separate sides to that. So the one side is simply if you knew that giving up your privacy would result in better security, would you be willing to accept that? Or what is the balance? What balance of privacy versus security do you think is acceptable? And the flip side of that being, regardless of what you think that balance is, in my opinion, the encryption backdoor won't work for what they claim they're trying to do. I mean, it would work for being able to monitor all law-abiding citizens because we're the only ones who would cooperate, and we're the only ones who would use the tools that would allow them to view our communications and data. But the criminals, the ones that they're ostensibly trying to look at and trying to monitor, wouldn't use those tools, and therefore it would be irrelevant, and we would all be giving up our privacy for nothing. My opinion. So that's, I think, about it. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everyone survived the Black Friday chaos. It seems like Black Friday is less of a thing now anyway. My wife and I did actually go out on Black Friday morning to pick up some stuff, and you really couldn't tell it from any other Friday at the retailers that we went to. And we actually asked one of the cashiers, we're like, was there just no rush? Was there no line? Was there just normal business? And basically what she said was, because all the stores open Thanksgiving night, that's when the lines were, that's when the rush was. Everyone went out at 6 o'clock on Thursday on Thanksgiving Day and did all their Black Friday shopping. So by Friday morning, the rush is over and we're back to kind of business as usual. Anyway, that is all. Like I said, happy holidays. Talk to y'all later.